Welcome back to another episode of the Next Is Now podcast. Coming off a big weekend in Memphis at EYBL Session 1, I'm going to have Eric Hanford and Travis Graff joining me here in a minute. We were all three in the building this past weekend, so we got a ton to break down. We're going to be rolling through about 15 or so guys who left the biggest impressions, talking about guys from class of 2025, 26, and 2027. Got a ton to break down, so let's get right into it. Welcome on, Eric, Travis. Obviously a big weekend this past weekend in Memphis out at EYBL Session 1. We were watching a ton of hoops all day long, so got a ton to break down. Wanted to keep this one open-ended, obviously coming back from, especially in EYBL Session 1, it feels like there's just a ton of new stuff, whether it's new names, guys getting better. There's just a whole lot to break down. So wanted to keep this open-ended and just do an all-impression team. So each of us have 5 guys coming into this that we wanted to discuss, 5 guys that left the biggest impression. Wanted to just switch off and break those guys down. So I'll start with Eric here. Who did you have first for your all-impression team?
I think I might have to go with 𝘼aximizing. I thought Taj had some very real moments, especially coming off of USA Basketball a few weeks ago. He was one of my top performers there just based on some of those flashes. And I saw the same thing again this past weekend, especially playing up 17s, long, athletic, looks bigger than, I'm not going to say USA Basketball because I wasn't on ground level with them, but definitely the last time I was kind of like in his actual space, he looks taller, just more athletic, everything, honestly. Like he had some really big moments offensively, shot creation, shooting over the top of the defense. I think he's probably going to be one of the highest ascending prospects regardless of class this spring and summer, as long as things continue to trend in that direction.
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously, supernaturally talented prospects now playing up, and it seems like, he's learned a lot, kind of taken his bumps and kind of channeled it into becoming like an actual winning, productive piece now. So definitely agree. It's going to be fun to watch them throughout the summer. Travis, who'd you have here to get it started?
I'll start off with Isaiah Dennis from CP3, quick athletic guard that constantly kept defenders on their heels, was able to get paint touch after paint touch, really pressured the rim, got to the rim, finished above it multiple times, good defensive tools, likes to play fast, and then was just like a blur in the open court. It was the first time I really sat down and watched him in probably a year and a half, and I left so impressed, like one of my biggest stock rousers of the weekend.
Yeah, it seemed like a lot of people were talking about him. Didn't get to see much, but definitely have to go back and watch the film because that definitely seems like a guy that college coaches are definitely going to be coming out to check on. For me, I'll start off with Caleb Gaskins, obviously a very familiar name in the class of 2026. Been playing at Mount Vernon. Obviously hasn't played too much behind a ton of McDonald's All-Americans and top 50 guys in the country, but was just really impressed with him. Playing with 𝘼aximizing 16s, put up 25 points per game and 8 rebounds in like 23 minutes per game, I believe. So just wildly efficient. And I think the interesting thing with Caleb Gaskins specifically is like you can watch a full game or two, then look up at the box score and be like, he scored how many? Just because he does it in like quiet ways, gets to the line a ton, really aggressive. And makes really quick decisions, like really smart. It seems like guys enjoy playing around him, just because he really understands the game. So, been good to see him get more aggressive. And like now it's obviously didn't play a ton during the high school season 2 years in a row. But back-to-back EYBL summers, it looks like he's just going to be wildly productive. So really like how he's progressing. And think obviously going into his junior year, going to have some more opportunity to play at Mount Vernon. I think he could be in for a big year and become even a bigger national name, already a guy that's a top 10 prospect in the class of 2026. But yeah, going back to Eric here, who's another guy you had?
I think the team final backcourt of Jerry Easter and Jake West, I think they had a really good weekend in terms of going into that stop. It was kind of like, okay, how are these guys going to play together? How are they going to play off each other? What's that going to look like? I thought both of them did a really good job knowing when to take advantage of opportunities themselves, when to play off one another, when to involve the other guys on the roster with them. I thought it was a very promising start for that team final backcourt, and I think it is going to be something that as they continue to gel, they're going to continue to learn how to make better decisions, and continue to put them in a position to win going forward.
No doubt. Seemed like teams definitely had a tough time guarding that duo just because they both kind of complement each other pretty well and score at multiple levels. Travis, who'd you have second here?
Keyshawn Tillery from City Rocks was phenomenal, like all weekend long, but it was really great whenever I watched him. Table setting point guard that can also score the ball. Really just sticks out to me because he's a winner, makes winning plays. I think he spearheads the City Rocks attack that they're kind of a sleeper in EYBL this year. A lot of people are overlooking them. I think that the way they play as a cohesive unit and the pieces that they have, I think that they can knock off some of the quote-unquote big dogs that people are seeing early on that are projecting to go to Peach Jam. So not really going to wow you too much, but just consistent across the board. Like I said, if there was a winning superlative, like somebody that's a winner, he's one of my top ones that I'm going to vote for that from this weekend.
Yeah, definitely. I haven't seen him in a while. Didn't see him too much this weekend, but definitely a guy that elevates guys around him. And agree with the City Rocks part. Felt like even last year too, kind of got overlooked, but could tell watching them that they were a few guys that were going to be really, really good college players. My second one here, I have three other ones that are 2027, so I'm just going to finish up my 2026 guys. And it's actually a teammate of Cal Gaskin, so I'll go with Kevin Thomas. Got injured on Saturday, so we weren't able to see a complete weekend, but just a guy that had the gym buzzing early, a guy that I don't think a ton of people know right now. I went on and looked yesterday, and he's actually not ranked nationally by anyone else in the industry, a guy that's been in our top 60 or so since the beginning, since we launched our ranking. So a guy that we've been really, really high on, and I think a guy that as more people see, that's assuming that he gets healthy quick into this summer, I think is going to make a big impression and jump onto a lot of radars. He's 6'6", 6'7" or so, and moves like he's 6'1" or 6'2", like super light on his feet, super explosive. The flash plays are just crazy. You don't see a lot of guys putting the flashes together that he does on both ends of the floor. And now I think he's really starting to shoot the ball with efficiency and kind of build out his identity as a player. So I think a guy that once he gets healthy, like I said, is going to open a ton of eyes and kind of jump into that top 40, that top 50 in national rankings.
The injury was definitely unfortunate because there was a ton of other guys in the gym who were asking who Kevin was. Mm-hmm. So I think enough people saw him before the injury to understand that the come up is very real. Now I'm excited to see how quickly he can come back and continue that trend.
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously, still super young, but has a ton of upside. And that, in general, I talked about two other guys already. Clyde Walters was awesome too. That Night Riders 16 team is a blast. But going back to Eric here, who was your third guy?
I'm going to go with a Max Feldman special, Yusuf Gray from Team Hero. The guy who we've known about for a few years now. He kind of popped as an 8th grader for us, came to camp, played in some of our spring circuit stuff. The polish on his shot-making ability, his creation, just ability to kind of space the floor, see the floor. I'm really impressed with just his overall development in his game. He's not the most hyper-athletic kid, but he can kill you in a variety of ways with just his overall skill level and his IQ. So I thought it was a really promising weekend from him.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's been multiple in a row for him now, too. Obviously missed the high school season due to injury, but having a really nice spring. Just a guy that really, really knows how to play, really versatile, and impacts a ton of in the game in a ton of ways. He's very consistent and just like rarely makes mistakes or has bad games. So definitely another guy, 2026, that should open some eyes this summer. Travis, what'd you have here, your third guy?
I'm going to go with the Midwest guy here for the third one, Arnest Lawson from All Ohio. Played 2 out of the 3 games this weekend, got hurt. Didn't play the third game, but was dominant in the first 2. I think he's a sleeper nationwide. I think he's a guy that could very well end up in the rankings and possibly pretty high in the rankings at some point. Has all the tools, scores the ball very well, was getting to the rim well and was shooting well. In addition to that, made a lot of great defensive plays, kind of set the table a couple times, had a nice bounce game both times I watched him. But right now he's just got some mid-major offers. I think some high majors are really going to be coming after him hard whenever they're able to see him in the live period, just because he's got the tools and the scoring acumen to really help with that level.
No doubt. All right. I'm going to get to my 2027s, and I'm probably going to go back to you here, Travis, quickly, because I've seen a lot of Davian Thompson over the last year or so, but I wasn't watching the 47-point game, and I know you were there, and it was your first time seeing him live. So wanted to hear your impression too, but obviously a guy that made a ton of noise this weekend, 47 points on 17 of 19 from the field. And I thought that kind of gives you a glimpse of like what he is as a player, just a hyper efficient scorer. So what do you think of him?
Well, first, I want to thank you. For those that don't know, background on this weekend, I was mainly focusing on 17s, and Max was watching a lot of the 15s and the 16s. And then Max recommended me go into that court to check out that game because there weren't any 17s in that game slot. But I'm glad I did. It was the first time I've seen Davion ever. And obviously, he looked like LeBron James coming away from that game. But yeah, scored from all three levels. It didn't seem, obviously, he barely missed at all, but it seemed like every shot he took went in, playing downhill, smooth from the outside. I just couldn't have been any more impressed. That's probably the most impressive first viewing of a kid I've ever had in my life.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, just wildly efficient. Like, he doesn't have crazy explosiveness, crazy measurables, anything like that, really. And it was the whole weekend, too, was just killing dudes with his skill level, like his ability to change gears, create space. So a guy that we've had in our top 35 or so in our rankings since the jump, and I think warrants a bigger jump towards the top 15, closing out top 10 range, because the skill level is just beyond his years, really knows how to play, and not just a scorer either. Like, he's a high-level passer as well. So I think a guy that is starting to leave his impression on the national stage as well, not just in the Midwest Chicago area. But going back to Eric here, fourth one. What you got here?
I'm going to take it to the West Coast. Another Max Feldman special here. I'm going with Slim Rogers.
Let's go.
Had a great weekend. Well, actually, he had an awesome game when I watched him originally. I think he dropped a 30 ball, highly efficient 30 ball from all levels, basically, but he wasn't forcing it, which I thought was most impressive. He's just so good at organically creating space and finding ways to get his shot off. Another guy that isn't super athletic, but he just can kill you with the smarts, and he knows how to play with anyone. And I think if you asked other guys, he's a guy that people just love to play with because he knows how to get people the ball. He knows how to command the offense. He knows how to get his own shots. When I saw him in that initial viewing, I was really blown away. I saw a little bit of him this winter, but I thought it was a heck of a first weekend for him.
Yeah, we talked a little bit about it after USAB too. Like, I think it's similar with EYBL, where a lot of these guys come in and they're their best player on their high school teams, and they're used to having the ball in their hands. But Slim's a perfect example of a guy who's played around a lot of high level guys, like played around high major guys both years of high school. Like, he knows how to play around other guys, and I think for sure, like, a guy that other people love playing with, and I think that shines on a stage like this, and will probably continue to be a calling card for him for a few years to come. Travis, number 4. What you got?
I'll follow up Eric with another West Coast kid. Tay Simmons from Team Why Not was remarkable Friday night. Just a man-child. He's like a 6'6", maybe 6'7", big man. But man, is he strong and physical around the basket. Had a couple of poster dunks. Arguably the best dunk that I saw live myself on the weekend on Friday night. Just a man-child down low. Only hang back that, like I said, is he's a little bit on the shorter side, but he produces, he attacks the rim. His motor is second to none. And then I want to say he had around 20, 24 points somewhere in there that game. But finished well around the basket, just punished defenders. So that was fun to watch. Between him and Tunde Yesufu, they have the most two physically dominant short line drivers in UYBL.
Yeah, that's a terrible matchup for just about every opposite team. So that's a good one as well. I think a guy that is definitely going to be like a priority mid-major recruit this summer, a guy that probably will be able to impact the game pretty early on at the next level. Another 2027 for me, a new name on the radar. Honestly, knew not much about him going into the weekend, but Jaimin Vinny from Team Mello, playing from the DMV, played for Gonzaga, JV team this past high school season. We had to reach out to our DMV correspondent, Colby, for some more information. But Kind of had a breakout weekend here. Thought he was awesome scoring the ball, like has well-built 6'3" frame, really athletic, great first step. Really tough to slow down when he was attacking the rim, getting downhill, scoring out of the mid-range, was making plays for other guys, and just was like super even-keeled, competitive, and just elevating the guys around him, defending, doing a bunch of little things. So he was super impressive. I think a guy that's going to make a pretty high up debut in our 2027 rankings when we update here in a few days. So I think another guy, obviously in the DMV especially, feels like new names are popping on the radar every month or so. I think a guy that will have the chance to be pretty impactful this high school season, and definitely, I'm not sure exactly the numbers he put up for Team Mello this summer, but I think will probably be one of the top producers in the E15 division for Team Mello. So another great name in 2027 that jumped onto the radar here. Eric, your last guy, who you got?
I'm gonna zig where you guys zagged. Everybody's talking about Davion Thompson, and rightfully so. But his backcourt mate, Jackson Davis, I was wildly impressed with him as well. I think what we're figuring out is this Mean Streets 15U team is definitely not a team to mess with, and probably one of the front runners in the 15U EYBL this spring and summer. We'll see how things play out in session 2 and beyond, but I love the way that he plays offensively, has complete command, knows how to play off Davion. It's a little scary they didn't even have Josiah Harrington this weekend either, which most people don't understand. I just think he's a really impressive player with an extremely high IQ. I think it's a really good look for the city of Chicago in general to have Davion, Jackson, Devin, Cleveland as 3 of your top guards coming up. I think it's a great look for the city with where that could possibly go down the line. But Jackson, I thought, had a great opening session.
Yeah, Chicago hoops definitely took its bumps this weekend, but Davion Thompson, Jackson Davis, and I'll throw even Howard Williams, 41 points to close out the weekend for that Mean Streets team. And like you said, they're missing a top 60 guy in the class as well. So definitely E15's got a ton of talent, ton of good prospects, a few really, really good teams. I think they should definitely be among the best when it comes down to it at the end of the summer. Travis, last guy, who you got?
Well, before I get to the last guy, are we talking about the Chicago woes this episode or next episode? I just wanted to check on that.
I mean, I brought it up first for a reason. I knew it was coming.
Yeah. Bad look for Max Feldman. But no, Shamarion Davis Fleming from Team Thad was very productive. And the full game that I saw them was Friday night, and that was arguably probably his worst game of the weekend, and he was still impressive. Great size. I think he's a sleeper that's going to blow up everybody's rankings. Great size, great frame. Upsides there. Plays with a mean streak. Just really overall productive outing in the other 2 games. Like I said, he was solid in this game, but it was probably the least impressive of his 3. But he's a guy that I'm really wanting to monitor because I think he can really, really creep up the rankings if he does this in a session 2. And then if you're looking at session 3, then you're like, all right, this may be a top 50 kid.
Yeah, absolutely. We were talking about it in the intro, like guys, breakout guys, obviously, but also guys just naturally getting better. Like he's a perfect example of a guy that's kind of been on the radar, but big men take a little bit longer to develop and then pops up in his final EYBL campaign and produces on a steady basis. So that's definitely a good one. My last one I got, could probably write a full article or have a full pod episode talking some more about him, but I go with CJ Rosser. Was a breakout name for us. Obviously, we have a pretty good feel for the class of 2027 nationally, but was a completely new name for us from North Carolina, playing with Team United, a very good Team United team that won our 8th grade finale a year ago. He was not on that team, but now pops up as a turned 15 years old last weekend, 6'9" forward, moves exceptionally well, has great feel, makes quick decisions, was knocking down threes, like has a very naturally versatile skill set. And it's very, very clear. Obviously, I don't know how much he weighed, but he's wire thin, like he's going to get stronger, going to get bigger, just beginning to kind of grow into his frame and tap into his upside, but wildly talented, wildly skilled, and it feels like a guy, even after catching, I think, 2.5 games, talking to him, getting a feel for it, feels like a top 20, top 15 guy in the class off the rip. So very, very excited to see some more of him throughout the summer. I think a guy that's going to grow on the national front a ton over these next few months. So we'll definitely be keeping track of him pretty closely. But want to thank you guys for hopping on. Obviously a busy week, EYBL session 1, EYBL session 2 coming up this week. So we'll definitely be hopping back on to talk some more about guys. I'm sure there will be plenty of new names popping up. So appreciate you guys hopping on.
Absolutely. Looking forward to it.